what was happening around you in the streets around you as this was all going down?
Absolute pandemonium. From my viewpoint up 43 floors, I could see people running like ants, just absolutely scurrying for their lives. Billows of smoke coming through the streets, just walking down the street, just pushing everybody back. And then several minutes after, it looked like it had just snowed over the entire area.
Yeah, the debris, the soot was thick on the street. There's still a dusting of it out here. But when I was standing here and the towers collapsed, we saw police officers running for their lives, screaming, "Get back, get back, get back!" And I'll tell you, that's a wake-up call when you see cops running for their lives, and people too, women's pushing baby carriages, that sort of thing.
Well, you had the first tower first. That one, when that first went down, it just pushed everybody back, and it was a good 15 minutes before the second tower finally collapsed. Yeah. And it was just overwhelming, and by that point, it was just insane.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of similar stories from people who were inside the building. One gentleman we spoke to earlier today, John, was on the 77th floor and said it was a relatively orderly evacuation at that point after the first plane hit the first tower. Everyone going down the stairs, not a lot of panic. But when they got to the 6th floor, he says they felt a second shake. And then people started to really be concerned. Obviously, there were people in the building at the time of this, and some of those people, they haven't recovered them yet, and that's a big issue right now, is trying to get the rescue workers and the emergency crews to the building. There were police officers there and emergency crews there when this was all happening, and they were right at ground zero when it all went down. So can we talk to you? What's your role out here right now?
I'm just standing by right now. Can't say what role I'm playing right now.
Well, there's a lot of standing by. There's also concern that some of these other buildings might actually come down. This building right here with the glass that you see, the nearest tall building, that has structural damage as well. We saw a lot of glass broken out, and a corner of the building appeared to be in distress, and there's concern that there might actually be another collapse of that building. And I can also tell you that when we first got here, we were a few blocks up. We could actually see debris from one of the planes on the street, a huge gear at one point, looked like a piece of an engine at another point. So that debris is still littering that area up there. They had roped it off with police tape, and they had FBI agents out there, and that was just before the first tower came tumbling down.
And yet Rick fails to get a shot of that important material. Now, I'm not saying the whole thing, the entire collapse and everything was fake. I'm saying that they intermixed a lot of footage with stuff that was done on a set, and we can see that there's actors here being used just by the way that they're talking, the scripted out language, and the lack of knowledge of what's going on, because they're standing by, just like he says. So in order for that to take place, there has to be a beforehand knowledge of that this was going to happen. So keep that also in mind.
And everyone went running away. So there's evidence out here. There's a lot of work left to be done. And as you can imagine, the streets are a bit chaotic at this point. But I just want to show you one drastic difference looking north as opposed to looking south. Blue skies, clear streets, not a lot going on over there. But then come back around this way, Dan, and you'll see just smoke billowing from the scene. Still, obviously, a major disaster waiting to be cleaned up. Back to you, John.
All right, Rick Leventhal in Lower Manhattan, thank you very much. A dark day in America, September 11th, 2001.
But we have one more person that you might recognize from other events that was at 9/11 that day.
Something with it.
You know, guys, if that's happening, we got to get the hell out of here. This is not good. Sorry.
Zeros. 1913, this country died when we adopted the central bank and we got rid of sound money. We used to be able in 1913 to walk into a bank and redeem our dollars with gold.
I want you to compare these 2 years. Now, take in consideration the angles are different from the heads. One is a side view, one is a forward view, full-on view. And also the one on the left is of this person when they were a child. So there's less of effect of the pulling down from heavy earrings on the lobe and the outer edge of the ear. So keep this in mind when you're looking at these images. Here are some more for you to view.
Can we do that anymore? No! What's...
In my previous videos, we've established that this person is the same individual that appears in this video. Keep in mind, in the same video you have Tony Greenberg, which is a relative of this person, and Stuart Rhodes, who is the founder of the Oath Keepers. In this photograph, that's a few years old, we see him sitting next to his cousin Arden Vole, who played the Nurse Naira character that got us into the Gulf War, when it testified in front of Congress about the babies being pulled from incubators and left on the floor to die. In addition to the Nurse Naira character, she plays the host of a TV show on Press TV Network. Here she is sitting next to her aunt, Jill Rappaport, from the Today Show. That's Jill's stage name. Her real name is Liz Harmon. And then, of course, sitting next to Arden is her mother, Denise Vole, who is a well-known New York socialite. You might also recognize her from the Columbine incident. She played the teacher that was paralyzed. Now, Arden's not the only relative to appear in this video. There's a few other notable individuals involved in this production. Remember the last video we just talked about from 9/11 with this guy? Well, here he is again. This is Richard Cohen. Richard Cohen is the president of the Southern Poverty Law Center. You might ask, why does his earlobes look different? Well, this is because he's had a simple 30-minute procedure that's done in a doctor's office, which is done under a local anesthetic, where they cut a small piece of the earlobe out, a wedge shaped, and then they stitch it up with 2 stitches. It's a earlobe reconstruction that a lot of people do when their earlobes sag as they get older. Will make you look younger, which he's done right here. The important part to look at is still the inside of the ear, the landmarks that don't change. And the earlobe doesn't have any cartilage in it, so it's a very simple procedure to do. You're in and out, and there's no pain whatsoever. So that's why his ears don't look the same on the outside, but on the inside they look exactly identical. Plus, look at his nose and look at the rest of his face. The landmarks of the face match exactly. He's wearing a hat that looks like it has one of the fake wigs in it that has the blonde hair, or he could have dyed his hair, who knows, but that's a question that maybe we should ask him. We also have exposed that organization as a front and a scam, as other individuals like Mark Potok are also played by Pima County Sheriff's actors. And of course, Andrew Breitbart. Now, Breitbart was the one that released those 4,000 emails showing the connection between MoveOn.org and these individuals and Soros. I think that was a ploy to get you to trust in him, so then they could use him as another way of disseminating false information.
The price of gold now, almost $2,000. It's gone up.
Do you hear that little voice in the background say for an ounce? Here, listen again.
It's gone up. It's gone up.
That's Arden Vole. That's a voice that they added in post-production, the same way they did with that riot scene in the beginning. Listen again to the voice in the background complaining. So I guess Arden's putting her NYU film school degree to use, because that's definitely Arden's voice.
Up $600 an ounce this year. It's gonna keep rising. And it's gonna keep rising as long as we have bailouts, as long as we have quantitative easing, as long as our government keeps spending our money. Every dollar the government takes in federal taxation.
Now this is the person that I want you to really focus on. Remember the ears back in the beginning that I showed you? One of the sets is hers. She is Lady Gaga. Now, not only is Lady Gaga here, but there's another individual that ties us into who Lady Gaga really is. Of course, it makes sense once you find out that she's related to all these people that are in this shot. Most of them in this shot are cousins, or they're related closer than that, brother and sister. But it shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean, look at the nose. That nose runs in the family. Denise, Arden, and her. I mean, let's not forget her grandfather, who gave her that nose. Maurice Strong was exiled from Canada, and again we see the Canadian connection. He now lives in Switzerland, but has since had his nose redone so he doesn't have that pronounced feature. But even though this is not the most shocking part that I want you to realize, for the shocking part is actually who Lady Gaga really is. As you can see her with her brother here, and see her in her earlier photographs of her and her brother, you realize that she is JonBenet Ramsey. And you can see how that story could easily be put into the media, and of course with their media assets as being who they are, they own all the networks, they can control that story and get that story out and make it stick. But of course they're playing a game here with us. That's why they're winking and just having a good old time, because they think they got away with it. No, they didn't.